What's up, everyone? Welcome into the new and improved Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is
Yarby, Jake Mo's on the 2.
And guys, as you can see, we are trying something different. We are trying something new. We've made a bunch of edits. We've made a bunch of additions. We finally got some text on the bottom so you guys can check it out. I no longer will have to do the intro where you guys check out our Instagram. You guys can see it there. On Jake's side of the thing, you will also see the topic of the day. So that'll be a reoccurring theme that you guys will see in future episodes as long as this goes well. We're going to be a little bit slower with it. This is the first time that Jake and I have ever recorded with all these new additions, but we're excited to get into it. We're going to be covering the AFC South today. We're going division by division. We've already covered the AFC North, NFC North, AFC East, and NFC East. So now we are on to the South Division. We're going to go pick by pick, give our thoughts and opinions, grade the players. You know the drill. Like we've always said, it's an opinion. So if you guys disagree, you're more than welcome to disagree with us. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get going into this?
No, I am ready. I'm excited, a little nervous. Hope we don't mess it up too much for you guys, but we will do our best, like Dane said. Let's get into it. So as Dane mentioned, we are going to be covering the AFC South. That includes the Texans, Colts,
Really
Tennessee
quick.
Titans. Yes.
Did we miss D-Hop? I believe that there is some news that we need to talk about before we get into the D-Hop or before we get into the AFC South. Yes, guys, I do apologize. News. I should have made that announcement at the beginning, but DeAndre Hopkins, one of the top wide receivers in the NFL, a little bit older, but still very versatile, and he is no longer with the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, they let him go. So Jake, let's transition into D-Hop. He got cut. The Cardinals didn't get anything in return, but they're just going to eat the salary cap, whatever it is, and kind of just move on from him. And this could work out in the future for them. They're a young team. They're basically in rebuild mode. So with DeAndre Hopkins gone, have you heard about the teams that he's talking about moving on to?
Well, before we get into that, I kind of want to discuss the trade in itself. Because when the Texans traded him to the Cardinals, everybody was saying that the Texans got fleeced. Blah blah blah, and like at the time they 100% did, but after only 3 short years of being on the Cardinals and not a whole lot to show for those 3 years, I think it was a loss for both these teams, if I'm being perfectly honest. Honestly, when I thought when I first saw the news of DeAndre Hopkins getting traded to the Cardinals, I thought he was going to be in the NFC West for a long time. I thought he was going to be nightmares for, the 49ers, for, just going to be a problem. And it didn't end up like that. So I want to hear your opinion. What do you think of the trade overall?
So I'm still going to push back against that statement. I do think that DeAndre Hopkins did make a difference for the Arizona Cardinals. When he was out there, he was easily their number one wide receiver. There were no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't think that anyone on the team compared to him when he was out there healthy. However, I will agree to a certain extent because while he was there for 3 years, I think he had one season where he was healthy. The rest he's dealt with injuries or, getting busted for performance enhancing drugs. So then he had to miss time, was suspended. So it didn't pan out the way that Arizona anticipated, I don't think. But I do think that when he was out there, he was a difference maker. That was easily Kyler Murray's favorite target. The connection that they had was great. He does not drop passes. He can make insane plays. I always go back to that one play. I can't remember who they were playing, but he was triple covered. I think it was against the Bills, if I'm not mistaken. And it was for the win. Last second went off the clock. The Hail Murray, as he trademarked or whatever he said. And, DeAndre Hopkins just in triple coverage came down with the ball. And those are the type of plays that he can make. Even in his older age, he's still very versatile in his route running. He's got great hands. And, I would say he's still a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL, if not better.
Yeah, I agree. Still top of the wide receiver class. I don't think it panned out quite like what the Cardinals were expecting. When you at the time he was the one, the two, one. You could have debated between
top three.
Him and
Devontae
he was
Adams.
definitely top three. Yeah, I mean at the time I thought he was my top wide receiver. And I just don't think it panned out how they quite envisioned it. But he's traded and he's looking for a new team, which is the next part of this topic. Top landing spots. So right off of Google, not really any websites. I don't know if you've seen any websites, but there's a couple names that keep.
I think he made it known who he wants to play for. I think he listed 5 because I think he said that he would want to play for one of 5 quarterbacks. And if I might be wrong, and we can go into the Google article in just a sec, but I believe he said he would want to play for Patrick Mahomes of all people, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I think he also said it was either Joe Burrow or Aaron Rodgers and then Justin Herbert. Chargers ain't going to get him. They don't have the money. I know that for a friggin' fact.
Yeah. There's some rumors. I've heard of all those that you mentioned. I'm also looking at NFL.com. I don't know if this is a list that they want D-Hop to go to. It says Detroit, Baltimore, and Carolina and Houston. Even has the Dallas Cowboys. And I also got a notification earlier today about Deshaun Watson saying that he would love to be reunited with his old buddy. What's your favorite landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins? Where do you think he goes? Like, do you think he takes a giant tries to get a giant contract, or does he try to go for a ring?
I think he's going for a ring. I think at this point in his career, he's going to try and pull in OBJ. I mean, OBJ wanted money too, but he wanted to play for a contender, a playoff team, someone who's going to possibly give him a ring. And I'll tell you who my least favorite spot is, and that's the freaking Kansas City Chiefs. Because if he gets paired up with Patrick Mahomes, that's just like my worst nightmare, especially being in the AFC West and a fan of the Chargers. Yeah. I would say I would love to see him on Baltimore and pairing him up with OBJ and then the young gun wide receivers that they have, and then Mark Andrews as well. I think that would be dangerous. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be great for Lamar. I don't know. I don't really know if he fits in well with Buffalo. I don't know why. I just doesn't seem like a great fit.
Especially being in the South for so long, or like warmer weather teams. I just can't see him necessarily in the cold, but NFL players.
Baltimore's kind of cold too, though.
Baltimore's
kind of cold. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of like the idea of him going to Cleveland or Houston. Like we discussed this a couple days ago. Houston would be very interesting. No Bill O'Brien. And I thought before when this happened, I was like, oh, the Patriots might be interesting, but there's no way he's going to go back and play with Bill O'Brien.
Could you imagine?
That's just not happening. So I don't know what the top landing spot. I think there's tons of teams that could use him. The Giants is one that kind of speaks out to me, but they have not a quarterback problem, but I don't necessarily know if D-Hop is going to want to go play with Daniel Jones. Right. Yeah. And I don't know if he's going to want to go to a team that's, a run heavy team where he has to go out and block. I think he just wants to go out, get his touchdowns and get a ring. He's not a young buck anymore. So I don't know. I mean, the Ravens would be very interesting, but one thing there's some rumors also about the Jets. I think
Yeah. If
that's
he
probably
went to
my
Aaron
favorite.
Rodgers, him and Garrett Wilson would just be
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. And I know for a fact I'd be picking Aaron Rodgers in fantasy if he went to the Jets.
Yeah, I would also be putting $50 on the Jets to win the Super Bowl next year if that happened. Just saying. I don't know. I'm all for it. If they win a Super Bowl next year and then they're just terrible for the next 70 years again, it'd be fitting. But yeah, that is all we really have to say about D Hop, folks. It's very surprising release. He's still, I think, one of the top 10 wide receivers, maybe top 5. I don't know. I would have to analyze it. But yeah, let's get into the next portion of this show, Dan.
Let's do it. AFC South, ladies and gentlemen. So, like we talked about, we're going to be going team by team. We're going division.
Can we pause real quick, Dane?
What's up? What's up?
That was an excellent transition. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you guys just know how clean of a transition we just had. I'm sorry. I had to give us some props.
Guys, it will even get better. I mean, you should have seen it when we were first trying. We were like both trying to figure out where to put it in OBS and use, just so you guys know, if you guys are looking, because Jake and I have spent hours trying to figure this out. And if you're like a new YouTuber and you are looking for what program to use to try and get these edits in or all this stuff, we do use OBS. We use Riverside to record our platform. We also did try Discord, but we were having a lot of issues with the audio. Just a little sidetrack note, but yeah, learn OBS. It is helpful if you guys ever wanted to stream or post anything on YouTube, because we're able to do things like this now. So hopefully we can continue to work with OBS and get better. This is our first video ever, but just a little sidetrack getting into that. Guys, we're going to be going alphabetically like we've been doing every single week. So the first team that we got on is the Houston Texans.
Well, I fucked up. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's still better. It's all give us props.
Yeah. All right. So with the Houston Texans, they started off this draft with an absolute banger. They drafted quarter. So let's talk about their first pick. They went QB CJ Stroud. And I will say this, if CJ Stroud plays like he did against Georgia in the playoffs, the sky's the limits for him. Like, he was balling the hell out. And he had a great game. He was good under pressure. He was on the money. He made any throw that you could want. His pocket awareness was good it was decent to good. He stepped up when he needed to. He used his legs when he needed to. He's not going to burn you on the ground like Anthony Richardson or anything, but he's at least mobile enough to get around. And he's got a cannon for an arm. He's got a huge arm, and so I think the sky's the limit. The only thing that's a little concerning is how he's going to process the NFL. It is a little bit quicker, and things are going to come at him a lot faster. So that's my only drawback, but I think this is a home run pick. I love the pick.
I'm a little bit more not skeptical, but more pumping my brakes. I'm not trying to say this guy's going to be a bust. I'm just waiting to see what he can do in the NFL. I mean, the first thing that they say on PFF in his profile is this dude played with 5 potential first rounders. Next year, we'll probably have the top 3 wide receiver and then a top first round, another first round in what's his name? Egbuka. Egbuka, is that how you say his name? Yeah. He also played with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith Njigba. So he was,
and then this last year with Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to be the first wide receiver taken next year.
And I've already seen some mock drafts for, way too early mock drafts of him going in the top 3. So it is going to be interesting. The Texans already have a lot less talent than Ohio State had. I think, they got John Mechie. So we wait to see what he can do. I'm excited for him, but it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm not trying to pump my brakes. He's a very accurate quarterback. I just think the team around them isn't quite there yet. This still is a bottom 3, bottom 5 team, in my opinion. They could easily be in the hunt for the number one pick next year. So I just think we need to limit our expectations right now, just so not to put so much pressure on him, and just let him grow and, uh, you know, kind of just let him come into his own. I think he is a good quarterback, though. I just think he might struggle a little bit at first, just because of the team he's on. But other than that, I do like the pick.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get into the Houston Texans, like what my opinion is of them. I'm a little bit higher, I think, than you on the Houston Texans. But, going back to the draft, the Houston Texans traded back up to get the third overall pick as well. They went back to back. They got the second pick, and then they got the third pick. And, they got two of the best players in the draft. And with their third pick, they drafted Will Anderson Jr., edge out of Alabama. And I love this pick. I mean, they're showing that they're taking the initiative to improve this team as quickly as possible. Now, however, I will say that they gave up a decent amount of draft capital for him. So you hope that it pans out. But I think Will Anderson is like as sure bet as anyone coming into the NFL. He's very pro ready. I like his get off. I like his hand movement. I like his play strength. I like his run defense, pass defense. I think he's a total package. So I wouldn't say that I would put him in the same tier as maybe like Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa when they came out of Ohio State. But I think Will Anderson is maybe in the tier right below them, maybe a little bit less than Aiden Hutchinson or right around that mark.
It's funny. I was thinking about the same thing. I don't think he's a chump at all. I think he's really good edge rusher, but there's definitely tiers. And, I'd put TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, and Nick Bosa at that tier one. TBD for this guy, but I don't think he will. I'm not saying he can't, but I don't think he's quite there at that next level, just like you said. So, but I definitely think he's, a cornerstone for this defense. They could definitely build around him, build on that D line. So I like the pick. I think the fact that they went offense, defense, and just instantly got better on both sides, I believe, is pretty awesome for the Texans. So I do enjoy this pick.
Okay. And guys, I don't know if we mentioned, but we are using PFF's PowerPoint presentation. They kind of do a player analysis. It's free to anyone. You can just go to pff.com and you can find out anything you want about any of these players. We just have them up on the board so you can read a little bit about them. Jake, go ahead.
False. I have to pay for this. There is a free version, but I pay for this just for the extra content for you guys. But if you guys are listening and not watching, PFF did grade the CJ Stroud as very good and Will Anderson as good. Their next pick, they went back on the offensive side of the ball and they drafted Penn State center Juice Scruggs. This is a pretty interesting pick in my opinion. I think this guy has the potential to be very good, but it's kind of you're kind of like banking on stuff. I think I apparently he got into a very brutal car accident and he kind of had to take a year off of football and didn't know if he was going to play football again. And he kind of came back and kind of had to like relearn things and stuff. But I think he's a pretty solid center. Again, I think they can build around him. I think he can be their center for, maybe not for 15 years or whatever, like you would like every one of your picks, but maybe just like a transitional guy, maybe just to build off of. I do like it. You got to protect your young rookie quarterback, also along with a couple of other picks in their draft. I actually really like the Texans draft. I understand why so many people are high on it, but I think this is a decent pick. I'm not going to say it's awesome like the first two, but I think it's decent and I like where they went with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of around the same boat. I don't think that he's an elite prospect by any means, but I think that he's good depth right now, possibly could fight for the starting position, or maybe he will be the starter. I just want to see him grow into it, because even on PFF right here, you can talk about his footwork. And I think that that was one of the more noticeable things. Sometimes he can hold his own. Other times he gets pushed back a little bit, kind of loses inside leverage from time to time. But I think that he is a good center, and I think that he's going to be serviceable. And I think that he could prove to be a top worthy center in the NFL.
Yeah. Their next pick.
I love this pick.
I do
I love
too. I think, looking at their roster, their wide receiver room still has a lot to be desired, I believe. I mean, Noah Brown, he could be interesting. Robert Woods, he's been, last year I'm not going to take away from him too much from last year. It was, he injured his ACL or whatever it was the year before last year. But before that, he was a solid wide receiver. And then you got Nico Collins, which I'm not. I mean, he could have a breakout year, but I'm not completely sold on him yet. But adding this guy could be pretty fun for this team. I see him as like a. Honestly, when I was watching his tape, he reminded me of Brandon Ayuk. The way he kind of like jukes people off the line. He's very twitchy. Kind of like Kadarius Toney like.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say a little bit more of. But he's even smaller. I mean, this guy is tiny.
Yeah, this guy is very small. I mean, if you guys are looking at the screen, he's 5'10", 165. That's what they have listed on PFF. I think he's even smaller than that. I would have to look, but
yeah, he's probably like 160.
Yeah. So what do you like about this guy, Dan?
Okay. Even though his weight is very, very small and very, very light, excuse me, I think that this is one of the best route runners. Like you already said, he's twitchy. He is very twitchy, like Kadarius Toney. And I'm worried maybe a little bit about press coverage, but if you can't get your hand on him because he's so twitchy, then it doesn't really matter. And I think that he's got better speed than he led on at the combine. I don't think that that was an accurate representation of how quick and elusive this guy actually is, because he burns people. And it was obvious with Houston the entire time he was playing there. No one could stop him. And even at the Senior Bowl, he was just having highlight reel after highlight reel. Like, his footwork is incredible, and he's fast. He can catch the ball. He's good with that. And if you watch any Houston highlights, Tank Dell is getting called his name over and over and over again. I watched highlights on Houston's quarterback, and it was always to Tank Dell. Tank Dell had so many touchdowns, so many yards, so quick, so elusive. I think he's one of the best wide receivers in this draft, even though he's one of the smallest. So I love the pick. I really do think that this was a great pick, especially because they got him in the third?
Yeah. And, they could use him on a bunch of stuff, wide receiver screen. He doesn't have to be the number one receiver. He could be like that Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type kind of player. But I think, again, they improved on the defensive and now on the offensive side of the ball again. Also on NFL.com, they have him at 5'8", 165. So even shorter than on PFF. This next pick, I kind of like this pick. Dylan Horan out of TCU. Again, another defender on the line. And, I was watching the Michigan game against TCU, and this guy was probably one of the big reasons they went up so big in that first half. I mean, he was just making stop after stop. He was getting into the backfield. I don't think he's like elite, but I definitely think he can add something to this defense. So I do like this pick.
Oh, yeah. I definitely think that you can utilize him on the defensive side of the ball. And big-time players make big-time plays in big-time moments. And that's what he did against Michigan. Like you said, one of the biggest stages in college football. And he balled out. He is aggressive. He can be overly aggressive sometimes. And then other times he can play patty cake a little bit. I don't necessarily think that he has the highest motor. But then again, on tape, you can see that he does have plays where he is just sideline to sideline. So maybe he gasses himself out a little bit. But, he could definitely improve on some of his pass rushing sets. Hand placement could be a little bit better. maybe develop a little bit more power, but I think overall this is a solid addition to the defensive side of the ball. And D'Amico Ryans is going to have him playing hard, so he's going to a good system.
Yep, or he will not play. This next pick, another defensive pick. And this one's pretty interesting. I mean, I think we talked about it. Was it this guy or was it the dude from Oregon that was like at the beginning of last?
There's a guy from Oregon, Noah Sewell.
But this guy still was getting, I think, some hype at the beginning of the season, and it kind of really didn't pan out for him last year. But watching his tape, he doesn't look that bad to me. I think he's more of a run defender kind of linebacker. Maybe a little small to play middle, but he's not that small. I don't know. I feel like they could definitely use this guy. I don't think he's going to be, Fred Warner out there or anything, or top 10 linebackers. But I think he could be serviceable. I think they can use him for blitz packages, kind of get him settled into that defense. I haven't really seen a whole lot of his coverage skills, but he seems like a sound tackler and really can make his way through the line and get after the quarterback. So I think it's a decent pick.
I agree. I was much higher on Henry To'oTo'o at the beginning of the year because he was getting some, maybe early second round buzz, possible late first round buzz, but very few people were talking about that. He was mostly considered possibly a second round pick. And, you can utilize him in the blitz game very effectively. I think he did improve somewhat in the run defense, but you will see plays where he just cannot get off blockers. And that was one thing that I noticed from games with Alabama this most recent year is if a guard or a tackle, just got hands on him, sometimes it was very difficult for him to break their hand placement. And he was just unable to get past them or off of them. So I think that that's definitely something that he can improve on. But he's athletic. Like he's got all the tools that you need to be successful in the NFL. And like PFF said, he's just got to put everything together, mesh it together. And I think that if he's coached on how to see the field a little bit quicker, which I think is one thing where he can, prevent the offensive lineman from getting hands on him in the first place. So there's a lot of upside with him, but I definitely think that he'll be a key contributor on special teams this year and possibly see playing time on the defense.
Yeah. All right. I really like this next pick. One, he's from Notre Dame, Jarrett Patterson. Two, I think not that he's a steal, but I think this guy is gonna come in and immediately contribute to this team. I mean, he's versatile on the line. He could play. I think he played guard and center, if I'm not mistaken. Did he play center or was it tackle? I know he played two different positions at one point. And he's not like your Quentin Nelson type of offensive lineman coming out of Notre Dame, but he's a solid lineman. I think he's kind of like the Will Anderson, Dylan Horton kind of picks. Like definitely guys you can improve your team with, but maybe not like stalwarts for the team. Like maybe just like they're like stepping. No, it sounds mean saying this, but they're more like, let's use this guy to get to the next level, if that makes sense. But I definitely think he can contribute. He's versatile. He's a good blocker. He's smart. He was also one of the captains for Notre Dame, and that's like huge. Like to be one of the captains of Notre Dame, you have to be a special player, and I think this guy can bring something for Houston.
I agree. I think that he could possibly now this is going to be interesting. Who do you think between Juice Scruggs and him, who do you think would win the starting battle for center?
Because
that's tough because I mean they drafted two centers, so they drafted both of them. But you already
I,
touched on Jarrett Patterson having the versatility, because I think he played
yeah.
left guard, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he played left guard. He can play center. I think I even saw him at tackle a couple times. Like if they have to, he's very versatile. Like he could even be like your sixth offensive lineman, your swing tackle. Until he just solidifies his spot on the line. I honestly, I'm surprised he went this low. I thought he was gonna go way higher. I thought he was a pretty decent lineman. But you know what? I think I will say I think the Texans kind of got a little bit of a steal with this guy.
Yeah,
But
I like him a lot, and I think that
yeah,
he'll contribute or at least fight for that starting center position.
yeah, I think. But to answer your question, I think Scruggs gets the center, and then like if they're going to use these guys immediately, I think Scruggs is more of a center player, and Patterson's more of the
Swing guard
guard.
tackle.
Yeah.
And then could come in and play center if Scruggs gets injured. Okay, yep. I like that.
Or struggles.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dan, you talk about this next one because their last pick is my overall favorite pick.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting because I actually love Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State.
All right, talk about it, baby.
He did not have the best quarterback play. He's not necessarily the most athletic, but I don't know what it is. There's just like a it factor with him. And I think that this is good value for finding him in what is he, the 6th round?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that he may not be the fastest, but he's got great hands. He's got good route running ability. He's pretty decent with yards after contact. So to get him down here is, I think, a steal. And I think with better quarterback play, and I think CJ Stroud is much better than Iowa State's quarterback. I think that he's going to succeed at the NFL level. So I'm just excited to see him play. I want to see it transition more to the NFL side of the thing because I think he did have some success at Iowa State. And I think he was their best wide receiver, honestly, this last year. So
yeah, he kind of reminds me of the Tank Dell guy, where when you watch the tape, everything was going to this guy. Mm-hmm. And like with his size and his ability, I think he has the most potential to become a number one on this team. I think he has a potential to be the number one on this team. Not necessarily this year, but in years to come. But he has to ball out and show what he can do. But I do like this pick. I think he's a solid wide receiver, and I think they just improved all over the freaking board. PFF doesn't have this last pick on their little PowerPoint or whatever you want to call this, their presentation. But honestly, this pick is I think this is my favorite pick. Brandon Hill out of Pittsburgh, safety. And you want to talk about someone who's going to bring attitude and just really just attitude. Like he's going to be someone who's going to get in your face whether you're doing something wrong and it's on your face, or he's on your team, or he's going to get in the face of an opposing player, and he's going to let him know that he just got hit and tackled by him. And I really like this pick. This guy flies to the ball. He's a hard hitter. He's a shit talker, and I think that's something that D'Amico can use. And they picked up Jimmy Ward, and he's not young, but I think Jimmy Ward and this guy kind of play similar. They're both in your face. They're gonna talk shit. They're gonna hit you, and I love this pick.
So I'm probably not as high as you on this pick. I do like it. I think the athleticism's there. I think he has all the intangibles that you need physically speaking, and the mentality to play it. The only thing that I think he lacks is processing. I think he's a little slow to diagnose things and sometimes has his eyes on the quarterback a little bit longer than he needs to. I think that it's just the play recognition and the speed. Because, if he diagnoses his plays a little bit faster with his athleticism, he's going to be getting a lot more interceptions. I think he only had 2 I'm not mistaken. I don't know how many interceptions he had, but I believe he had 2. But like you said, he's a hard hitter. He's a shit talker. He's going to bring that attitude. He's going to bring that dog mentality. So I like it. And, especially getting him in the 7th round, you're taking a risk or a gamble on these players anyway. You're banking on the upside. Yeah. So at this point in time, I think that he'll be a key contributor on special teams. And I think that he could possibly earn his starting role into the Texans defense, because the Texans defense is not great by any means. Yeah. So there's a possibility that he could find a starting role sometime.
Yeah, D'Amico's definitely going to have them compete for everything on that defense. Back to the PFF grades. They graded the Juice Scruggs all the way back to Juice Scruggs as below average, Tank Dell above average, Dylan Horton above average, Henry Toto good, Jarrett Patterson average, Xavier Hutchinson very good, and Brandon Hill above average. So, what would you grade the Texans draft, Dane?
I would give it an A-. I really liked the positions that they addressed. I think they got some really talented players. There were a couple picks that I wasn't as high on as some other teams, but I like the initiative that they took. Getting the 2nd and 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft shows that you're trying to rebuild this team as fast as possible. You do give up draft capital, so you're kind of taking a risk on next year's draft, but hey, you're getting some key players, and I like it. And I think they got good value later in the draft, in the 6th, 7th round. I think they got good value there. So A-.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think, we'll see what CJ Stroud is, but I still think he's an improvement from Davis Mills. I think Will Anderson, I think they picked a lot of people that are instantly are going to play. All these players are going to see playing time for sure this year. I'll be surprised if half of these aren't starters, honestly. So I'm going to give them an A- as well. PFF gave them a B-, which is very interesting, and NFL.com gave them a B+. So we are both higher than both of those.
I think a lot of that comes down to CJ Stroud. Even though they graded it very good, there's a lot of controversy with CJ Stroud. And, we kind of showed just between our discrepancy on our opinions on him. You're a little bit lower than I am on him. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. These are all just opinions and how we project them to do in the NFL. They're opinions, everyone.
Yep. So with that being said, we are going to move on over to the next team in the division. We're going to be talking about the Indianapolis Colts, who I also think had a very good draft. But I mean, if you want to talk about controversy,
yeah,
I think what's his name?
Richardson?
Anthony Richardson. I think that's way more controversial than CJ Stroud, to be honest.
I agree 100%.
So, yeah, they had a pretty interesting draft, and let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. So the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, they take a huge gamble with their first overall selection in the first round. And, you had Will Levis sitting there. You had Anthony Richardson, a couple other quarterbacks, and they decided to go on the most boomer bust quarterback, in my opinion. I think that Anthony Richardson is easily the most boomer bust simply because of the fact that he is very raw in the passing game. He's very inaccurate at times, needs to improve on his footwork, but he is the most athletic out of any of these quarterbacks coming out of the draft. He's the most athletic quarterback to ever test at the combine. So you're very you have two very polarizing ends of the spectrum here with Anthony Richardson. You have people saying that he could have been first overall. You have people saying he shouldn't even be in the first round conversation. I believe he deserves to be in the first round conversation. I do not believe that he should have been taken 4th overall. I personally would have chosen Will Levis over him. But Shane Steichen has made it work with quarterbacks. And, coming from Philadelphia, working with Jalen Hurts, you can make it work with Anthony Richardson. Plus, Shane Steichen also coached up Justin Herbert. So you're getting a good coach to help build up this team. So I like it. I'm a little bit nervous about how he's going to perform. I think he's going to have games where he's one of the best looking quarterbacks, and I think he's going to have games where he looks like Baker Mayfield when he can't hit the broadside of a barn. So, I'm indifferent about this pick. I like it, but I'm not in love with it.
I even though it is controversial, I love it because the Colts have been struggling for a quarterback ever since Andrew Luck left. They have just been searching and searching and searching. And I said it all last year. They need to find it in this year's draft. And why not find the player with probably the most potential, most boom out of all the quarterbacks in Anthony Richardson. I mean, the way this guy plays, he looks like the second coming of Cam Newton, honestly. And we all know how dominant Cam Newton was when he was in his prime. And you know what? They if they can go back to what they were before last year with that pretty good defense, really good offensive, really good rushing attack, and a solid offensive line, then it's not going to be all on his shoulders. Also, a couple picks in this draft, I think, help Anthony Richardson a lot. And
I mean, not only that, he has Jonathan Taylor. Let's not forget that, who can bail him out, utilize the short passing attack, utilize the run game. I do hope their offensive line improves because their offensive line play last year was atrocious. So if that improves, because you also got to give Anthony Richardson time to throw the ball. So let's keep that in mind as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And, Michael Pittman, he's really good wide receiver, so he's gonna have some fun next year. Their next pick, I
love this pick.
PFF graded it a very good for Anthony Richardson, but I also love this next pick. Julius Brents out of, was it Texas A&M? No, Kansas State. Kansas State cornerback. Dude, I mean, you want to talk about a freaking stacked cornerback class. Holy crap. I mean, this is PFF's 11th best cornerback. 11th. And watching this dude's tape, this dude is massive. I mean, he's 6'4", 202
physical
pounds.
Too. Like, he's not you can't just push him around. Like, he is going to utilize his hands, and he's going to get in your face. He's going to break up passes. He's going to intercept some passes, and he's a good tackler. Like, it is hard to pass against this guy. And I know that because since the Chargers drafted Quentin Johnson, I watched his gameplay against Julius Brents. Julius Brents had a lot of good reps against him. He did get beat a couple times by Quentin Johnson, but he also broke up a lot of passes and just kind of, just did his thing and made himself a name for himself.
Yeah.
Made himself a name for himself. That was stupid.
This dude also has giant wingspan. They're saying 6'10" wingspan, which is
that's insane.
It's absurd.
Yeah, he's got 34-inch arms. He's got 34-inch arms. Get this. His broad jump was 11 foot 6 inches. That is absolutely insane. Vertical was 41, and he ran in the 4.5s. So not the fastest, but he's explosive because he can jump. And he makes good breaks on passes. Like, he may not be the fastest, but he's got quick bursts to get to the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. This dude, I think he's going to be solid in the NFL. So I really do like this pick. I'm right there with you. This next pick, like I said, they got some toys for Anthony Richardson. Josh Downs out of North Carolina. And I know you really like this guy, so I'm going to let you take this one away, Dane.
Yeah, I do like Josh Downs. I thought he was going to be again, this draft for wide receivers was very interesting because a lot of the guys that I expected to be faster than a lot of the other players actually didn't turn out to be faster. He ran in the 4.4s. I thought he was a 4.3. He seems like a burner on the field. He's also not very big. He's in the 170s, 5'9", got short arms, but he's a great route runner. He's got good hands. He's explosive because even though he's only 5'9", he's broad jumping 10'11", almost 11 feet. He runs in the 4.4s, 38.5 inch vertical jump. This guy's explosive. And I think that he can take it to the house, and giving Anthony Richardson that home run ability with a speed receiver, and then Michael Pittman, who's also going to utilize his size. So now you have short and tall, and you got speed and like good route running. So I think that this is just a good combination. It's going to make the Indianapolis Colts a little bit more versatile in their playbook and the plays that they can come up with. So I like this pick a lot. I think it adds a lot of dimension to this team.
I do too. And not to mention, they have, like you said, one of the top running backs in the NFL. So that's going to open some stuff up for the passing game. I really like this pick as well, Dane. But this next pick, I think I like even more. I love the Indianapolis Colts first 4 picks.
Yeah, I really like this pick as well.
Yeah,
I really do.
So Indianapolis Colts draft Blake Freeland out of BYU, and this guy had a pretty interesting story. I watched. There wasn't like, no, there was some weird, like, there wasn't really any highlight reels on him. There was just more like backstories on this guy. But he didn't even play, I believe. No, was it this guy? Yeah, I think he played like quarterback in high school or something like that, and then he moved to tight end, and then. Or I might be thinking of a different player. Man, I watched so much tape. Goddamn. But this guy is an athletic beast.
Yes.
He could be, exactly what the Indianapolis Colts need for their offensive line. Pair this guy next to Quentin Nelson, or, let him learn behind whoever's there already and put him on the right side. I don't care. This guy is going to be a beast. And it's, like I said, it's exactly what the Colts needed.
Okay. I really just want to touch on this really quick. This guy is 6'8", 302 pounds. He broad jumped 10 feet. Vertical was 37 inches. And he ran under a 5-second 40. He is an athletic freaking specimen. And you can see it. You can see it on the very limited tape that you can find on him. I mean, there are certain highlights you can find. He's good at kick blocking. He's good at getting to the second level. He's good at utilizing his hands. He can sometimes get beat, but he's also good with the double team. I don't know, man. I think that this is a good pick. Getting him in the 4th? Yeah, 4th round. I really like this pick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And I really like this next pick also. Jesus Christ.
I'll let you take this one away because I'm having trouble remembering this one.
Okay. Adi Tamiwa Adabare. I hope I pronounced that right. This dude, 282 pounds, 6'2", almost 34-inch arms, broad jumped 10 feet, 5 inches, had a vertical of 37.5 and ran under a 4.5 40. This dude is one of the more explosive defensive tackles in the class. The only drawback, and I mean the only drawback that I have, is clean up your frickin' tackling. My God, for being as explosive, as physical, as aggressive as he is and breaking through on run defense, he needs to wrap up. He will get his hands on a ball carrier or the quarterback, and if they make a move, sometimes he just lets them slip right away. But he busts through the offensive line. He can push people around because he's so physically strong, and he imposes his will, which you want to see on the defensive side of the ball. But he needs to shore up his tackling, and if he does that, I think this will be a home run pick. I think he could easily be a second-round talent if he cleans up his tackling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he looked like a solid player for that D-line, so I don't think he really stood out to me a whole lot. That's why I don't really have too much to say, but you know what? We have different opinions sometimes, folks.
Yeah. I'm much higher on him. I love him.
Yeah. All right. Who's their next pick?
Another good pick, in my opinion. Yeah, the Colts did have a good draft. Holy shit. I'm really high on this.
Yeah, spoiler, I think the Colts, no, I don't know. We'll get into it. But Darius Rush out of South Carolina, and they drafted like 4 cornerbacks in this. 3, 1, 2. Okay, they drafted 3 cornerbacks. I mean, they needed to fix that defense. anyways. But Darius Rush out of South Carolina. Again, to me, this guy didn't really. The other two cornerbacks stood out way more to me that they drafted. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about Darius Rush?
I mean, this guy ran in the 4.3s. He may not be the most explosive because his measurables weren't as high as some of the other players. But for being picked in the 5th round, I think that this is a steal. I think Darius Rush could have gone in the 3rd personally. I think that I think he plays bigger than he is. He is 6'2", so he's got the height, but he sometimes seems like he's a little bit smaller out there, like compared to other people because he's sub 200, but he plays physical. And I love that. I think that he's great in coverage. I think that he's good at reading the receiver, utilizes his hands correctly, looks back to the quarterback when he needs to, tries to avoid as many penalties as he can. However, sometimes he can be called. I mean, as any cornerback can, excuse me. But yeah, I think that this is a great pick in the 5th round. I love this pick, actually.
All right. I kind of like this next pick. I don't know why. But Daniel Scott out of Cal. And watching his highlights, I'm like, when the hell was the last time Cal was good?
Marshawn Lynch, Aaron Rodgers.
But were they good? Like, did they win anything? That just because they had good players doesn't mean they're good. But this guy kind of reminded me of maybe I'm high saying this, but tell me if I'm crazy, but he looked like the Honey Badger to me. He looked like Tyrann Mathieu. I don't know. Maybe I'm smoking something, but the way he played, it was very Tyrann Mathieu-esque to me. So I don't think he's gonna be like day one starter. I think he can contribute. He's gonna be a special teamer for sure to begin with. But what do you think of this pick, Dane?
I think he's got all the athleticism in the world at the safety position to make it work at the NFL. The production necessarily wasn't there in comparison to some of the players, but I think that if he's coached up correctly on a good defense, he'll be fine. And I think that he can earn a starting role on the defense. But like you said, I think he's going to be a special teams player to start the year. But this guy runs in the 4.4s, 10'8" broad jump, almost a 40-inch vertical. Guy's got some explosiveness, and you can utilize him in blitz packages as well, which I like to see. So, maybe they can utilize him on the defense with some certain packages.
Sorry guys, I always forget, but they graded Julius Brents, PFF did, as good, Josh Downs as elite, Blake Freeland as average,
I'm higher on that.
Adebawore as good, Darius Rush as good, and Daniel Scott as above average. Their next pick is, I feel like if you didn't draft a tight end in this draft, you effed up, honestly.
Oh, thanks.
Did the Chargers not draft a tight end?
No.
I mean, I'm not saying this guy's like Dalton Kincaid or whatever, but he looked serviceable. I don't know. Like, I don't really think he was, I don't know. Like, he wasn't like anything elite to me. I think he could be the pass catching tight end on this team. I mean, they already have, I believe they still have Mo Alley Cox, that giant beast of a man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, they have he's not on there anymore. Damn. Or no, yeah, he is. They have a lot of tight ends, actually. They have Jelani Woods, Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, dude, Jelani Woods is big too.
Yeah, and Pharaoh Brown. That was a big dude too. So they have giant tight ends. I don't honestly. This pick is kind of interesting to me. Now that I think about it, I don't know. Like, if he can't block, if he can't fix his blocking game, I don't know where this tight end fits on this team. I mean, maybe as a special teamer, but
I think it's good depth to have. If you lose one of your starting tight ends, you want to have a backup that's serviceable at least. And I think that's what he's offering. I don't think that he's going to come in and be one of the most elite tight ends that we've ever seen. but he is sub 240 as far as I see. He's got pretty good hands. I think he was limited by quarterback play at with the Canes, Miami, but yeah, I didn't see anything that would indicate that he's an elite run blocker by any means, or a blocker in general. So he's a project player in my opinion.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about him. Who's our next pick, Dane?
Oh man, did I freeze? Am I frozen?
Are you frozen? Oh no.
Can you hear
Sorry,
me?
I can hear you. We can hear you, Dane.
Oh, it's all good.
Just...
Hopefully my camera comes back eventually. But going back to the draft, Evan Hull from Northwestern, running back. I like it. I think that he's pretty athletic for the running back position. 5'10", 209. Maybe if he got up to 215, I would feel like he's the perfect prototypical running back size. 4.47, 40-yard dash, 10'3" broad jump, 37-inch vertical. So pretty explosive for the running back position. I think that he's going to be serviceable. I think you can utilize him in this running attack, especially if there's an injury. But I don't think he's going to see too much playing time with Jonathan Taylor, who's one of the best running backs in the NFL as of right now. But this guy's got pretty decent power. He's got good leverage. He's got good burst, I would say. I think that you can utilize him as a home run threat. I think that he can make it happen, but he's not the most elusive. I don't think that he's going to, juke you out of your shoes, but he's going to break arm tackles. You can't arm tackle this guy. He's got a pretty decent frame to him. So I like it. I think that it's good depth. I'm not in love with it, but I think it's good.
I think I'm a little higher on this guy than you, only because of the fact that I think the Colts are missing Nyheim Hines. And I think they want to get that like kind of screen running back, or that one running back who can just take it to 80 yards to the house. I mean, Jonathan Taylor can do that, but I don't think he's like a speedy guy. I think this guy more fits that role, and I think he just kind of changes the pace. I think from what I've been hearing...
Wait, really quick. Did you say Jonathan Taylor's not speedy?
I not like Nyheim Hines.
Jonathan Taylor ran in the 4.3s, didn't he?
I don't know, but I know John. I don't think when you put them up together, I think Nyheim Hines is that speed back. I think Jonathan Taylor's more like that. I mean, I'm not saying he's slow. That's the thing. Like, I'm not saying he's slow. I just don't think he's...
I think Jonathan Taylor's way faster than Evan Hull. I think he's much faster.
They're saying this guy ran like a 4.3.
Evan Hull, I have ran a 4.47.
Yeah, so on NFL they have it at 4.47. PFF they have it at a 4.3.
Do they?
So,
oh wow.
Yeah.
So if he runs in the 4.3s, I'm like 90% positive that Jonathan Taylor also ran in the 4.3s for his combine. I will look that up while you keep. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, I just think he's kind of a change of pace back. And also I think Zach Moss. Oh wait, no, he was on the Bills last year, huh? Oh yeah, they traded. I don't know. I feel like I feel like the Bills didn't want Zach Moss, and I don't know. I don't really know if the Colts want Zach Moss. So this guy could see playing time.
I think that he could see playing time also. And by the way, Jonathan Taylor ran a 4.3940.
So okay, so he's pretty fast. All right, their next pick. Two of their next picks. Titus Leo out of Wagner. Gonna be perfectly honest, guys. Not a lot of tape on this guy. In fact, there was
I didn't get much. I didn't see much tape as well. Sorry, guys, we're not as informed. Plus, we also got a lot of picks. We're already at the hour mark. I think that he'll be a good depth piece. He can transition to the NFL as all these players. He's just got to prove himself in training camp, and he's got to prove himself in preseason. So TBD.
Yeah. This next pick, I actually really like Jalen Jones. I think this guy, when I was talking about that other dude from that the Brandon Hill that the Texans drafted. I think this guy kind of brings that same kind of energy, hit you in the mouth and let you know about it. Um, he's a pretty big cornerback. They have him listed as 6'2", 205. I don't know if he's the most sound corner, but I think he could definitely contribute in one way or another.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. As we get into these kind of picks, you're banking on upside and like you're trying to find the gems in the rough. So I think that if he contributes on special teams, proves himself in preseason, he could find playing time in the NFL. I definitely think that there's a lot to improve on. He's got some of the physical tools that you're looking for. He's not the fastest. He almost ran in the 4.6s as far as I know for a cornerback, which is pretty slow. But he's got a decent vertical and a decent broad jump. So TBD for me. I think it's a okay pick, but I'm not in love with it. I don't. He could be a diamond in the rough, but I don't see it as of right now.
Yeah. And this last pick, when I was talking about interesting backstory, this was the player. This guy played like 8-man football, played quarterback, played tight end, and then went to like a D2 school, and he's like known as the best player at that school or something like that. So they're saying he's like a athletic freak and all this stuff. There's not a whole lot of tape on him to prove that, but yeah, they've drafted Jake Witt out of Northern Michigan, offensive tackle, and that is their last pick. Dane, let's grade the Colts draft. Let's just start with Blake Freeland. They graded Blake Freeland average, Adetomwe Adebawore good, Darius Rush good, Daniel Scott above average, Will Mallory good, Evan Hull average, Titus Leo average, Jalen Jones good, and Jake Witt average. And now our grades for the Colts draft. Honestly, I think I might have to give them an A- as well. They had a lot of picks, a lot of depth pieces at the end, and also a lot of kind of difference makers. I think if Anthony Richardson, starting with Anthony Richardson, I think if he pans out, they could instantly become contenders. I think this division is still up for grabs, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't think the Jags have put the stranglehold on the division just quite yet. We'll see if they can make a jump, but I think for as of now, I think the division's still up for grabs. So I'm gonna give it, I feel like an A- is too high. Nah, I'm gonna give it an A-.
Yeah, I'm right around the B plus A- range as well.
Which one?
I'm gonna give it a B plus simply because I like Anthony Richardson. I'm not as high as you are on him. And go ahead.
It's not that I'm high on him. I just think if he pans out and if he plays like Jalen Hurts, Cam Newton, any of those quarterbacks who are dual threats, and if he becomes one of the next great ones, I think this team could be, pretty good pretty soon. That's just why I like the home run effect. They're swinging for the fences with him.
Yeah, I will say, like, I think Anthony Richardson offers you some of the highest ceiling out of any of these quarterbacks because of his athleticism. I think, like you said, I think you put it perfectly. He could be another Cam Newton in his prime. So I like that. I like his athleticism, man. But I think they had a lot of great picks. I love Julius Brents. I love Josh Downs. I'm higher on Blake Freeland than they are. I love Adetomiwa Adebawore. I like Darius Rush. And then after that, it's good after that, but I'm not like in love with it. So I'm going to go B plus because yeah, B plus. It's a solid draft. I really like it, but I'm not as high as you.
Like it. Cool. And PFF graded them as an A plus. Wow, interesting. Very interesting. NFL.com gave them a So you're lower than
Yes.
the other two platformos.
Yes, I am.
But that is okay. We can have difference of opinion. This next team had a lot of picks in this draft, so let's get into it because this podcast is already getting pretty long. We are going to be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Semi decent transition. So I think let's just get into it.
Let's do it. Their first overall pick is Oklahoma offensive tackle Anton Harrison. I like Anton Harrison. He wasn't my favorite tackle coming out of this year's draft, but I think that he's decently athletic, ran under a 5 second 40, decent size, 6'4", 315. That's good tackle size. I don't know. There was something missing with him. I think he has trouble in the run game, sometimes setting his hands in the correct place. And I think that he kind of elevates his pads a little bit more than some of the other tackles. I think play strength is decent. I don't think that it's as good as Paris Johnson or some of the other tackles in the class, but I think that if he improves his play strength a little bit, especially against bull rushers, and I think that if he places his hand usage a little bit better in running plays, I think he'll be a solid tackle. I like this player. I'm not in love with it.
But I think for what they were wanting to do, I think it's a solid pick. I'm not saying this guy's the best tackle, but he was probably one of the best tackles at that spot, and they definitely want to protect Trevor Lawrence. So yeah. I respect that. And, if he doesn't pan out, it's just, sometimes they don't pan out. You can't really do anything about it. It's just where you pick. And, if it doesn't pan out, maybe they'll find something in free agency. I think he'll be okay. I don't know if he's going to be, a world beater. I think he was a little slow, if I remember, like with his feet, and not too. Yeah, he wasn't too violent. Like I like my linemen, he wasn't really going for the pancakes. He was just kind of like playing patty cake with them. And
he was good in pass sets. Like he barely let any pressures or knockdowns or sacks, so that's good. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be turned into, a Trent Williams or a Teron Armstead or whatever, but, I think he could be a solid tackle for the Jags. And I like what they're doing for Trevor Lawrence. Yes. This next pick, they don't have him on PFF, so don't pay attention actually, I'll just stop sharing. This next pick, Julius Brents, Kansas State. Oh, no. I am so sorry, folks. I am
Brent Strange.
I was right. It's getting late, folks. Brenton Strange out of Penn State. Like I said, if you didn't take a tight end in this draft, you effed up. And again, this is kind of reminds me of the Will Mallory pick a little bit. They do have Evan Ingram there, but he's on a 1-year kind of deal still, and maybe, I was looking at this guy. I was thinking about Doug Peterson and his creativity, and I think this guy might be like a perfect kind of another wrench for teams to account for. I don't know if he's like, gonna be elite, but I think Doug Peterson is gonna have some fun using him, honestly.
Yeah, I think that this is an interesting pick. I wasn't too high on Brenton Strange. I don't know if it's because for me, I like my tight ends to be elite in one or at least good in both. And I don't necessarily think that his blocking sets were the best of some of the tight ends. And I don't think that he was elite in the passing game. I think that he's good in the passing game, possibly limited by quarterback play playing at Penn State. But I think that he's serviceable. He's going to see playing time, especially because he's a second-round pick. And yeah, like you said, I think Doug Peterson is a good coach, and so he can probably help get him in the right position at the right time. So I like it. I'm not in love with it.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, if Evan Ingram can continue what he did last year, and
Exactly.
I don't know.
He
Yeah, I think
reminds
it.
me
I think
of
it.
he reminds me of a slower Evan Ingram.
Mm. Their next pick I liked a lot. Tank
Yes.
Bigsby. They really featured Travis Etienne last year. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. They featured him a lot last year, and he is a smaller running back.
He's more of your scat back, and Tank Bigsby is going to be more of like your bruising back.
Yes, thank you for completing my sentence perfectly, Dane. Awesome. I think this definitely is going to take some pressure off Travis Etienne, get those short yardages. And he wasn't like he's not slow or anything. I just think he's a
Mm-mm.
bigger running back to where the load doesn't have to be all on Travis Etienne, and they're gonna run the ball like that. That's the quarterback's best friend is a good run game, and they had a solid run game last year. So I really like this pick.
I like this pick a lot more than the first two, in my opinion. I think where they got him, you're typically not taking running backs in the first round anymore unless it's an elite prospect like Bijan Robinson. But Tank Bigsby, he's a yak monster. Like he's going to fight for every yard you're going to get. Doug Peterson's already come out and mentioned that they want a running back by committee approach. So I think pairing him with Travis Etienne is who's probably going to get a lot more of the passing downs now, and Tank Bigsby's possibly going to be your goal line back. And I think that pairing them is going to be a good combination. So I like this a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can even see packages where they're both on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Just the creativity of Doug Peterson is he's getting some weapons. It's gonna be fun for that team, I think. Let's see their next pick. Yes, no Ventrell Miller. So don't pay attention to these. All right, yeah, Ventrell Miller. What's his name?
Yes,
Ventrell
Miller.
Miller, out of Florida linebacker. Um, I'm having trouble remembering this guy. We watched so many tape, and the Jags have so many freaking picks. Dane, you take this one away.
So I think Ventrell Miller is good on the playing field, but he's got some off-field issues. In 2017, he was suspended for credit card fraud. And then while he was suspended, he was cited for possession of marijuana. So he's definitely one of those character players that you're going to kind of want to watch out for. But I think that what he shows when he's actually on the field is good. He's physical. He plays with some good versatility against the run and pass. I don't think he's elite in either, but he's pretty athletic. And he plays with a lot of like aggression. So I like that in linebackers, especially if you play aggressive, but it's more the character issues that kind of drop him for me, because if he's not out on the field, what's the purpose of having him? Because I mean, you see, he can fly to the ball, he can blow up a play. Like he has all the talent, and he can play sideline to sideline. So I like what he can do when he's on the field, but the best ability is availability. And if he's not there because of off-field issues, then it's kind of a wasted pick in my opinion. So there are a couple concerns, but I think that he kind of cleaned it up as he played later at Florida. So.
All right. Their next pick, Yasir Abdullah out of Louisville. They have him listed as a linebacker. I thought it was an edge.
You did miss one. They got Oklahoma State defensive end Tyler Lacey before that.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, guys. So
Jake's going through the ringer.
Yeah. Tyler Lacey, they have a pretty good defensive line. I think he's just gonna be, learn from the best on that line and just be rotational piece. So I like it. Add to that already pretty decent defense.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Oklahoma State's had pretty decent defenses over the years. I think that he's a good addition. I don't think he's necessarily going to be a starter right off the gate, but I think he can see sub packages where he's rotated in. So I'm kind of curious to see how he does in the preseason and training camp and everything.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say the same thing about this next pick, Yasir Abdullah. Uh, he's a linebacker on NFL, but on PFF they have him as an edge defender. So I don't know what he is. This guy seemed a little bit more, seemed to have a little bit more it to him than the previous pick, in my opinion. But again, rotational piece, solid depth. Gonna build a strong defensive line with these two.
Yeah, I think Abdullah is a very athletic specimen. I mean, this guy almost broad jumped 11 feet. He ran in the 4.440s. You can utilize him in coverage, and he's kind of like a mini Micah Parsons, in my opinion, because you can utilize him as edge, and you can also use him as an off the ball linebacker. So I think that the versatility is going to help him see the playing field. I think that he's going to be a special teams monster personally. So I like this pick. I'm a little bit higher on him than some of their other picks.
All right. Um, this next pick, Texas A&M safety Antonio Johnson.
I think that this is a steal. I'm just going to come right out the gate and say it. I think this is a steal. I think the only reason his stock tanked was because of his athleticism at the combine. He did not have a good combine, ran in the 4.5s. Vertical jump was 31 inches, broad jump was under 10 feet. And I think that hurt him. But when you watch his tape as a safety at Texas A&M, like, he's good. He just has better production than he does athleticism, and that's what it is. And I think he could have been, a second, third round pick, honestly, with his production, his ball skills, his mirror ability to the receivers, and I think that he makes good jumps and he can read the quarterback well. So I like this pick a lot.
I do too. I enjoyed watching his tape. Pretty tall, pretty long safety. So,
and he's physical. He's not afraid to lay the hit. So I like that.
I do too. I think they just got a lot of depth pieces for this defense and some potential with some starters.
I think he definitely has a potential to be a starter on this team.
I do too. This next pick is pretty interesting. Parker Washington out of Penn State. Again, all the wide receivers in this draft class are just small. I think we've talked about like two that have been 6 foot and up. But this guy was, the dude in Penn State. It seemed like every ball was going to him. He looked pretty solid. I mean, I don't know.
He reminds me of a Jahan Dotson almost. Okay. He really does. I agree. Like, the height's not there. He doesn't have the prototypical size that a lot of the wide receivers in previous drafts have had. But I think that he's fast. I think he's got great hands, and I think that he's got good route running ability. I don't know. I think that I think he's more talented than where he was drafted. I think this is good value because, I mean, dude, you'll see plays of this guy making some ridiculous one-handed grabs in the snow. So, like, he's got playmaking ability and he's got home run ability. So I think that this is a good draft pick, honestly.
Yeah, and he's playing in a pretty good wide receiver room, so he will learn. And all right, these next couple picks, there is no thing for them, so we're gonna have to look
Christian
at
Broswell,
yes,
cornerback, Rutgers. We'll see. This is definitely one of those future prospects. See how he pans out. Special team player.
Yeah, these last couple of picks, there's only really one that I like, and it's still kind of we will see. And that is the next pick, Eric Hallett out of Pittsburgh. He's a safety. He looked pretty solid. I think the safety, they're the DBs on this Pittsburgh team were really good for some reason. They look like some hitters, ball hawks, whatever you want to call them. I think this guy could compete for, a starting position or at least being in the rotation. I think he was pretty solid. I'm interested to see what he can do on this team.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm interested to see what he can do. It's hard to say because, like I've mentioned with the draft picks, once you get down in this area, it's kind of just banking on potential. And there is potential with him. He is a little bit on the smaller side, 5'9". I think he's around 190-ish pounds. But he plays bigger than he is, and he's got good ball tracking abilities. I think that he's able to read the quarterback well. I think that he can play in the deep. I think that he can also play in the box if he wanted to. Mm-hmm. It might be a little bit harder because he's a little bit on the smaller side, but I think that he offers that versatility if he really wanted to. More likely than not, he's going to play free safety, but I like him.
Yeah. And these next two picks, there was like zero tape, and whatever it wasn't really worth.
There's 3 picks.
Oh yeah. There's the next 3 picks. Cooper Hodges, there was absolutely zero tape that I could find on him. So I'm not even going to talk about it. I don't know if you found any, Dane.
I did not. So we will see. So I can't really give an opinion on them.
Depth piece.
Yep.
This next pick, North Carolina D tackle Raymond Vahasik. The only thing I could find was like a 1:30 clip of him making a couple tackles. Again, he looks more just like a rotational piece. It looks like they're trying to build that D line pretty solid. So
yeah, they definitely want a good rotation depth piece because once you're gassed, your defense is going to suffer. So if you're able to put in people on sub packages, it's going to translate well at the NFL level.
Yeah, and then their last pick on NFL, he's listed as a fullback, but
he's an edge player, I think.
I have him as linebacker on PFF.
Miles Parrish, right?
Or no, they have him as edge.
Or Derek Parrish, excuse me.
Derek Parrish. The tape, sure it looked like he was playing middle linebacker when the one clip I saw of him. I don't know, TBD, but he looked like, just like a crazy white boy out there, going in and making some tackles. He played at Houston, I believe. Yeah, so a little bit of a smaller school. So again, probably a special teamer, rotational, maybe be on some blitz packaging. I really don't have too much of an opinion on it. Let's get to actually, first, I want to give the grades that PFF gave each pick. Anton Harrison, good. Brenton Strange, below average. Tank Bigsby, average. Ventrell Miller, average. Tyler Lacey, average. Yasir Abdullah, above average. Antonio Johnson, elite. Parker Washington, right very good. Christian Braswell, average. Eric Hallett, below average. Cooper Hodges, average. Raymond Vahasik, average. Derek Parrish, above average. So, let's get to our grades. I think personally they had, I think they were going for just like depth in this draft. I think they addressed, some positions of need with their first pick. I think that's why they took him. Anton Harrison, but I think the rest of it was just a lot of rotation, depth. Injuries happen, so and you want to be good for a while, so you want to build from the inside, and you want these guys to grow within the organization. So with that being said, I'm gonna give their draft a B. Nothing like super stand out to me. But I think it's just I think it was a lot of depth and, really just depth. That's the only thing I can take from this draft. So right. B.
I definitely think that they tried to address the defensive side of the ball as well, because I think that that's where they can improve the most. I'm going to give them a C+. I'm actually not nearly in the same ballpark. I like some of their players. Like I really like some of their players, like Antonio Johnson and Parker Washington. I love, but I wasn't the biggest fan of Anton Harrison. I think that he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's a great tackle. It's just not my play style. I like the more physical, more physically imposing tackles. And I didn't necessarily see that. He's going to be great for protecting Trevor Lawrence. Don't get me wrong. I do worry a little bit about the run blocking ability, but we'll see. So I'm a little lower on this draft. I'm going to give it a C+.
Yeah, I mean, and now that I'm remembering, the Jags did trade with the Bills and acquired a lot of draft capital. So again, I think they just kind of wanted a tackle, but they probably knew they weren't going to get one of the top ones, so they probably just took the best available. PFF graded them as a B, same as me, and NFL.com gave them a B plus, the highest draft grade for them. All right, Dane. Hold on one second. All right, so now that we covered the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's time for the very last team in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans.
That was the cleanest transition we've had.
Yeah. So luckily, we're at an hour and 24 minutes.
Thank you, Tennessee, for not having the most picks.
Yeah, they have, I think, 5 or 6.
6, I think.
Okay, yeah, 5 or 6. And, yeah. So we can hold on one second. You can start talking, Dane. Let's get into it. Let's finish this up.
All right. With their first round pick, I love this pick. They drafted Northwestern offensive lineman Peter Skoronski. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He could even play center if he wanted. The versatility on this guy is very good. He's very athletic for his size, 6'4", 313. He has great pass blocking sets, great in the run game. I think you can utilize him in any which way you need. You could be your swing tackle. Like I said, he can play all over the offensive line. And I think that versatility is going to help him be a great offensive lineman. He's strong. He doesn't have the longest arms, which is why a lot of people said that he's going to transition to guard from tackle. But he kind of reminds me of a Rashawn Slater in a way, Rashawn Slater doesn't have that long arms, and he was a rookie All-Pro. So I'm not saying that he's going to be the same level as Rashawn Slater, but I think that he has the ability. Not just because he went to Northwestern. I think that he's got the talent for it. So I really like this pick. I'm really high on this one.
Yeah, I like this pick too. Ryan Tannehill's not getting older, or
he's not
Ryan
getting
Tannehill's
younger.
not getting any younger. Thank you. And we don't really know what we have with Malik Willis. We'll talk about their next pick. But you want to protect those guys. And they didn't re-sign Taylor Lewan. He was dealing with some injuries, so I think this guy comes in and is the future of this left tackle position. So I like it. PFF has him as their number 1 tackle. I think he was our number 2, if I remember correctly.
I believe so.
Yeah, we had Paris Johnson, I believe, as number 1. But I think this guy's solid, quick feet, strong. Yeah, he's definitely someone they can build that offensive line around. So I do like the pick a lot.
All right. Let's move on to their round 2 pick, which is an absolute freaking steal, in my opinion. They got Kentucky quarterback Will Levis. Kind of reminds me of Josh Allen coming out of college when he went to Wyoming. And Will Levis has that same running archetype as Josh Allen does. He's a physical runner, can hurdle you. He can, get yards after contact. He has a huge arm, a little bit inaccurate. And if that's coached up, just like Josh Allen, he could be a really great quarterback. And you got him in the second round. This guy was pretty much guaranteed to go in the first round, and he ended up falling to the second round. So I think that this is a steal of the draft. I think that he's got a lot of the intangibles that you're looking for. I think maybe it's eating the banana with the peel on it that dropped his stock, or putting mayo in his coffee. I don't know what it is.
Definitely the mayo.
Maybe it's the mayo, but yeah, I'm really high on Will Levis. I like him a lot. I just think that he needs to clean up his throwing and his accuracy, his footwork, and I think if he does that, he can be a great quarterback.
Yeah, I think this is, I think he's very Ryan Tannehill-esque. I think he reminds me more of Ryan Tannehill than Josh Allen, but I don't know. We will see. I think the fact that they didn't have to get him in the first round and they got him in the second round makes it worth the pick. Because honestly, I don't think they believe in Malik Willis.
No, I don't think
And
so
yeah,
either.
and Ryan Tannehill again isn't getting any older, as I would say it. But he is getting older, so I don't know how much longer he's going to be on that team. So you definitely got to plan for the future, and yeah, maybe just let the two young quarterbacks fight it out. But I like this pick a lot, especially for the position. This next pick I like a lot too.
I was very high on Tyjae Spears. Remember,
Yes,
I think I had him as my running back too. Even I
yes.
think I had him as high as that. I think I had him above Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah. So Tyjae Spears, running back out of Tulane. I think this is awesome for the Titans because they want to run the ball. And I'm not sold on their wide receiver room. Their best
I'm
wide
not either.
receiver is
Treylon
Traylon Burks right
Burks.
now. And he hasn't, no offense to you, Mr. Burks, but you haven't really proved that you're an elite number one wide receiver. I mean, I'm not saying you can't be, but you were hurt pretty much all last year, and it's just it's hard to take anything away from that. So we'll see what that can do or what he can do, but they're going to want to run the ball, and Derrick Henry again isn't getting any younger. He has a lot of miles on him. I'm not saying he's not elite still, but this 1-2 punch, it's kind of like the old saying, thunder and lightning, man. You got thunder with Derrick Henry, and you got lightning with Tyjae Spears.
Yeah, I love watching Tyjae Spears. If you even just watch him against USC, I know USC didn't have a great defense by any means, but he's a yak monster. He's not like the shiftiest, but he's got that one cut ability. He's a one cut and go, and he's just got that elite burst to him. He's got good speed, got a good stiff arm. He can catch the ball. He's quick with his feet. I like every aspect of Tyjae Spears' game. So I think this is a home run pick in the third round.
I do too. Their next pick, is it Josh Wiley? Yeah, Josh Wiley
Yeah.
out of Cincinnati. Not too much to take away from this pick. I think they just wanted a tight end. I don't really think they have a tight end. Who is their tight end? Let me look. I think it was just more, let's take a tight end. Why not? Let him compete for that starting position. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like in love with this pick. I don't hate it. I'm just not. These are the tight ends that really didn't show me that they were elite. I think they're serviceable, but I didn't really see like too many elite traits from Josh Wiley.
Yeah, for as big as Josh Wiley is, and he's big, he's 6'6.5", 250 pounds pretty much. He has pretty short arms, which is surprising. He has 31-inch arms, which is very small. Pretty small hands for his size as well. Has under 10-inch hands. Broad jump was under 10 feet. Vertical was 33.5. 40-yard dash was about 4.7, around that mark. He's better as a pass catcher than a blocker, in my opinion. He's not the strongest, and I think that his lower body, he's not going to get the yak yards that you're anticipating from someone his size. There are times when he can, but he's just mostly going to body people out with his big size, and I think that you can utilize that in the passing game, but he's not an elite tight end by any means, in my opinion. I don't know. He's just a big body to me, and I think that he needs to improve a little bit with his lower body strength. That's my knock on him.
Yeah, and I really didn't see anything in the run blocking ability. Also, Tennessee Titans number 1 is Okonkwo. I don't even know how to say his first name. Chiagazium Okonkwo. So, I mean, I definitely think he could compete for that number 1. But we will see. This next pick, I don't know if they're even going to show it.
Jalen
okay. Actually,
Duncan.
You know what? I actually like this pick. A couple highlight reels tape I saw on him. He was going up against Aiden Hutchinson a couple years ago, and he was holding his own, man. He's a big dude. He's a very big dude, but he was holding his own against a really good pass rusher. And I think they're just trying. I think he could come in and help that offensive line out. So I like the pick.
I like the pick also. I think that he's good at pulling. Like, he's pretty quick for his size. He's good in pass blocking sets. I think that he could be a little bit more than a roadblock when he gets to the second level, because you can see him pancake edge rushers, but then sometimes when he gets to the second level and he's in a run blocking set and he's pulling, kind of just gets in the way and stands there. Sometimes he doesn't even get his hands on the linebacker or the cornerback. So I think that he can improve in that. But I think for finding him in the 5th round, is that where they got him? 6th round. I think this is serviceable. And I think you want to beef up this offensive line. You already went Peter Skoronski. So I think he could find himself a starting job, especially if there's an injury.
Yeah, that was one thing reading through the PFF. He does have slow hands, so I would like to see him improve on that. But with their next pick, let's see. They don't show it on here, so you don't have to
Colton
see that.
Dowell.
Yeah, Colton Dowell. Zero tape on this guy.
Yeah, I didn't see any tape either. I mean, he's got the prototypical. I mean, he's a bigger receiver, 6'3", 212 pounds. But where did he play? Tennessee Martin?
Yeah. Where? Like, never heard of this school.
Is that Division II, Division III?
Dude, I just think Tennessee has a vendetta against wide receivers. They don't like them. So
they just want to run the ball, ground and pound game, baby.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna, comment on someone I didn't get to watch tape on, but overall, I think the Tennessee Titans did a lot with not a whole lot of picks. But I do want to give the PFF grades for their picks. Peter Skoronski, elite. Will Levis, elite. Tajay Spears, good. Josh Wiley, average. Jalen Duncan, good. And Colton Dowell, above average. So, yes. And did I go first or did you go first last time?
I think you went first, so I'll go first. I'm going to give this grade a B. I'm actually higher on it than the Jags. Even though the Jags had like 3 times the amount of draft picks, I wasn't as high on some of the players. And I think that they got good value worth where they picked. I mean, shit, you hit a home run with your first 2 picks, especially getting Will Levis in the second. That's an absolute steal in the draft. Peter Skoronski is one of the most versatile linemen in this year's draft. I'm higher on both of those players than some of the players that the Jags drafted. So because of that, I'm higher on this draft, even though they had less. Less can sometimes be more.
Yeah, so now looking back at it, I gave the Jags a B, and I definitely think the Titans had a better draft than the Jags with, like what you said, with less. So sorry, folks, but I'm changing my Jags grade from a B to a B minus.
Okay. And
I'm giving the Titans a B.
Okay.
So we both gave them a B?
Yes.
All right. PFF gave the Titans an A, and NFL.com gave them an A minus. Interesting.
All right. So they're even higher than we are.
Yeah, I mean, you got 3. Well, I don't know about starters. Well, Will Levis probably won't start next year unless Ryan Tannehill. Seems to be getting hurt.
I think we're going to see Will Levis. My bold prediction is halfway through the season, Will Levis gets the starting job. I just don't see Tennessee's offense scoring many points. I really don't. They don't have a wide receiver core. Derrick Henry is good, but he's getting up there in age. I don't know if Tajay Spears is going to have the line to block for him right off the gate or right off the bat. So we'll see. This offense can struggle, but I think Tennessee's defense is top tier. Like I think Tennessee games are going to be low scoring.
We also have to remember how decimated with injuries this team was.
That's true.
That's one of the main reasons. And let's think about 2 years ago. This was the number 1 seed in the AFC 2 years ago.
Yep.
So this is part of the reason why I say this division in my opinion, is still up for grabs. The Colts, if some of their picks pan out, they could easily be in the top again. The Titans, if they come back to form and stay healthy, they could be in the top. The Jags, they showed what their potential is, and I'm not going to talk about the Texans, even though I think they're going to be very improved. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to draft my picks in order in the division. Actually, let's go back to the AFC South, Dane.
Oh, wait, sorry, I wasn't ready for that. All right, you want to go to the AFC South?
Yeah. All right, we're talking about the entire AFC South. I think number 4, I'm giving it to the Jags.
I'm giving the Jags my 4th place as well.
Number 3, I guess I gotta go Titans. Yeah.
Yep, Titans are my 3 as well. Then I'm gonna go Texans, Colts.
Really? You thought the Colts had a better draft than the Titans?
Yes.
Let me just look real quick. Sorry guys, I know we're running a little bit late, but in all honesty, it's only 10 minutes later than our other podcast, so I think you guys can hold if you're still here. Nah, I like the Texans draft better.
Okay. And there you go. So, guys, thank you for tuning in to the first ever graphic-induced camera freezing episode of the Cannonballs podcast covering the AFC South Division. Jake and I, we're going to continue this series until we finish every team, every division. Oh, Jake is already on the move, and he is getting... Oh, shit, what happened, guys? It's gone.
It's okay. Nobody's still watching.
It's okay. There we go. All right. But yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in, listening. Follow us on our Instagram down here. Oh, I can point now. That's cool. Like, comment, subscribe, share us, talk to us. Give us comments. Give us something to talk about in the comments section. My God. Jake, do you have anything to add before we go?
No, thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the new and improved podcast. Sorry this was a little bit longer. 2 of the teams had like 12 plus picks. It was ridiculous. It took so long to watch all this tape. We really put in effort in this, guys. I hope it shows. I hope you enjoy. And as always, thank you for listening, and peace.